Think of your favorite movie. Think about blockchain. Put them together, VUELE, a project that might revolutionize the way we consume content. Join me today, a very special guest from VUELE. Please introduce yourself, good sir.
Hey, it's Cameron Chell. I'm the chairman of Currency Works and the co-founder of VUELE, and it's a real honor to be here. Thanks so much for allowing me to have this time with you.
The pleasure is all mine. So let's get right to it. VUELE, what are you trying to achieve? What's the problem you are solving?
The problem that we're solving for the movie-going public is the ability to connect closer with the movies and the content that you love. So if you can remember back to the days, I can certainly remember back to the days where we used to collect DVDs, or we used to collect Blu-ray discs, or we have memorabilia about our favorite moments in movies, which connect us often back to our youth or to special moments in our life. In the streaming revolution, we don't have that opportunity to own, if you will, those pieces of content. We subscribe in for 10 or 12 or $18 or euros or whatever it is per month. And we have access to view these movies, which is great. It's incredible. But we see a bit of an evolution of that, where we're able to actually take and own an actual specialized copy of that movie. So a director's cut edition or a serialized number of the movie and such. And so on top of that, we're able to add in, behind the scenes moments or outtakes or interviews or special gaming or content, so that we're actually interacting with the story and demonstrating that we're super fans, or that this is part of our personal brand around the actual movie. So that's step one. Step two is we will be able to take your movie interests and the movies at hand and integrate them into the metaverse and be able to have them as part of your persona and part of what you consume actually in the metaverse.
All right, I have to unpack this. First of all, it's a cool mission. We have to agree on that one. So step one achieved. Now I'm kind of struggling in my mind to understand what do you mean by owning it? So would you mean is this a type of NFT play that, for example, I will have a unique serial number, or it'll be on blockchain that, for example, I own the copy on Xcode? Could you get into more specific on the blockchain side?
Sounds great. So I'll just back it up a little bit. So our view of what VUELE is working to accomplish with the film industry is, our view is that initially in these early stages is that VUELE will provide movies to be able to be full feature length films as NFTs. And they will actually come out before even the theatrical or the streaming comes out. So this will be the true premiere of how movies are first coming out. So if you want to get and be the first person to be able to see this movie, you'll be able to buy an NFT. Now that NFT also will be a director's cut or a special edition or an early edition, or have additional content that will never be available to a theater release or a streaming release as well. And yes, they're all serialized and they're limited copy editions. So it really allows you to start collecting, have a digital collection in the movie space. I think of it a little bit like NBA Top Shots or Autograph or some of the other great platforms out there, where I'm a basketball fan. I may or may not be necessarily a crypto or an NFT fan, but I'm a basketball fan, and just like I used to collect basketball cards, now I can collect basketball moments and digital memorabilia and get special access to games or to players or to the league. This is doing the same thing, except in the movie league, if you can put it that way.
I really love the fact that you're kind of connecting these two worlds, the ability to actually interact with content itself, which is technological achievement. The second one is a more semantic one, isn't it? You're kind of letting people pick and choose their favorite moments. For example, there are movies really that shape a lot of people's perception and their personalities even. So this ability to kind of mix both tech and human experience, I dig it. However, I really want to kind of figure out what are the capabilities of VUELE. So let's just say, would it be possible for viewers to finance a director's cut using VUELE, or is this more of there's an existing IP and then we are able to get special features out of it. So let's just say the director's cut, behind the scenes, etc.
Yeah, so for sure, we've seen movie finance and blockchain start to merge already, and there are a few platforms out there where you can, get special editions or access, or red carpet premiere access, or things like that. If you're part of the initial crowd, that puts up the equity portions that's required to finance movies, and VUELE certainly has that potential in the future going forward, and we've had lots of those opportunities show up. However, where we're focused is on full feature films, star-driven, larger production, and being able to take those and offer them out as NFTs and create a digital collectible world and eventually a metaverse world around this collection of movies. And so we whether we end up in the finance game in the future or not, I mean, it's a nice thought. But first and foremost, we need to build that audience. And in terms of building that viewing and that collecting and that metaverse audience, if you will, that really is going to come from driving our user base from work that's done with, higher production films, well-known actors, high quality stories, those types of things that have a proven track record that can actually draw the audience in to have interest to participate in the VUELE community.
So what you're kind of doing is giving movies a second life so that they can live off and actually accrue value as collectibles.
Well, it's amazing that you use the word second life, which is, kind of one of the original metaverses, if you will. And that's in fact where I believe this will evolve. The rest of my team, they cringe when I start talking too far in advance, and they're like, hey, what do we need to get done today? And we're very focused on executing today on being able to deliver movies as full feature NFTs with specialized content and a digital trading platform, that's highly unique and only available, on VUELE. But 100% where this goes is you'll be able to take those things that define us and define much of our youth when we watch movies, or much of our life and our ideas, right? And actually transport that into your second life or into your metaverse world.
I mean, for me, metaverse connoisseur at this point, it really makes sense how this will accrue value, why this is so interesting, and why it's needed. But is it self-evident to people at Hollywood? Because you're kind of bridging both. So what's that conversation like?
Yeah, Hollywood thinks in advance. They're forward thinkers, for sure. So there's been overwhelming interest in this. However, they're also incredibly prudent, for the most part. And so some of it has certainly been wait and see. Some of it, especially for the types of films and that we're looking at onboarding, first of all, these are not films that really want to take a risk, right? They've got larger budgets, they've got, actors with reputations. And so, they're a bit wait and see. So in fact, when we first brought on Zero Contact, which is the Anthony Hopkins film, at the end of the day, we ended up buying the movie. And the reason that we ended up buying the movie is that the complexity of working with and understanding all of the IP rights in this new world are such that, studios, it was just unfair of us to expect them to either take a flyer on things that we didn't know that we didn't know. And when I say we, I mean the whole industry in general. Like, how are these going to work? How are they going to be accepted? What new rights are going to have to be designed and integrated, and all of those things. So, what we did out of the gate was we actually bought the movie so that we could, work with the production teams and the directors and us as owners of that movie in order to design these rights. So now that the conversations that we get to have with the major studios and the agencies and such, we're talking from a first person perspective of, hey, this is what we've learned in terms of the rights. This is what we've learned when we put, things out in this way, or we utilize this technology. And this is what we're doing to, for copyright protection. And we have a lot more credibility in that regard, as opposed to trying to give them a sales pitch. We're saying, hey, this is what we learned as owners of a movie, and the risk that we took in putting it out this way. These are the challenges that we've had. These are the successes that we've seen. And these are the opportunities that exist for all of us.
It's kind of blowing my mind that you just went, all right, we're not gonna half-ass it, so to speak. You're gonna go full on buying the IP and then talking as basically having skin in the game. And
yeah, well, it wasn't our first choice. I mean, we did spend a lot of time talking with the studios and talking with movie producers and such, and they were all keen. But at the end of the day, none of us could really get to the spot where we could take a risk on doing something where we were all ignorant, meaning we just didn't know what we didn't know. And so it became evidently clear that if we wanted to become a dominant player and the industry leader in this, is that we had to take an industry leader position and become one of them. And so that was the decision we've made. And thus far, it's paid off quite well for us.
I mean, I love the bravado of that decision, and quite frankly, I think it should be applauded that right now you're in this first contact. But what are the biggest struggles? So what is the miscommunication, or what is the knowledge gap which we are now facing? Why can't we, for example, just put Avatar or other movies into VUELE, for example? What's stopping us right now?
Well, with existing movies out there, they've already got rights contracts in place.
Right.
And so this is something that as a right or as a piece of IP never existed when all of those contracts were in place. So the challenge of now going backward to those classic movies and say, hey, we're going to create something new, and it's got value. All of the existing rights holders, within that ecosystem of that particular production, are all, hey, wait a minute, I own this, or I own that, or I need a piece of this, or these are my rights within it, or there's interpretation around, okay, where does this all fit? So it will happen. Certainly that the classics are going to come out with in NFT formats, and there will be gamification of those of NFTs, and there will be inclusion of all of that into different metaverses. No question that will happen. But the challenge of who owns what rights and how those either revenue splits or risks need to be appropriated within the existing contracts, that's a heavy lift. Right now, and that will take a little bit of time to unfold. But those conversations are active right now, for sure.
Let me just understand this. So you're saying these conversations are active. Just when can we expect another title on VUELE, or what's your roadmap right now?
Yeah, we'll see. We're hopeful to announce new titles very, very shortly. We do have new titles that we will be announcing shortly, and we'll drop a number of titles in 2022 of full feature films, star driven, fan favorite type of films. Of some of the classics, we're not completely signed off on a classic right now, but we're working hard to get signed off on some of those classics, and I think that will happen in 2022.
Just so I'm clear, the process would be for our viewers at home. Let's just say they see a X movie on VUELE, and they are able to actually have this metaverse where they are able to collect these moments, these additional values. Can you talk a bit more, just what's next for this particular metaverse? How do you see it growing? Let's just expand a bit more.
So to be clear, and not to get too far ahead of ourselves, the experience of VUELE that people will have in the new year. So first of all, we've already done a drop of the Anthony Hopkins Zero Contact movie. Yeah. We had 11 copies of the movie that we put out there. We had gross proceeds of $90,000. Those are highly specialized, versions of the movie. Come with that, the fantastic content and actually, in some of those cases, the owners are now actually inserted into the movie. So some pretty cool stuff. So, but as we move into the new year, we'll do drops of the actual film, and people will come to VUELE to view it. So it would be, at this point, it's similar to a Netflix type of experience where you come to VUELE, you have a login. When you set up an account on VUELE, you're actually setting up a wallet, a crypto wallet. But you don't have the look and feel. You don't have a 16-bit encryption code. You don't have there's not complexity. It's very consumer friendly. So it's as simple as your email address and some other very minor information, and your initial wallet gets set up. And once you have that wallet, now you're in a position to actually participate in the NFT drops that are going down. So that will you be one of the first people that get in the queue to be able to get the first edition, or the first 100 editions of this movie that have special content and are serialized. Once you have that, it goes into your wallet and or your dashboard. And those are the movies, that you own. And you watch the movie and you have the exact same type of experience as if you were watching it on Netflix. The difference being is that it's not a streaming experience where there's only 100 people in the world, or 2,500, or whatever the number is of the campaign is, that have that and can watch it. And it's not something where you don't go share it out with 100 other people or anything like that. This is your copy of the movie, and you've got special content for it. You can then take that and you can put it up on a trading platform. So if somebody else wants one of those special editions of the movie, they can bid for it, and you have the opportunity to sell it. And then there's additional content that goes along with it, right? There's gamification, there's crypto art, there's character NFTs, there's all kinds of other content that you can bring into your collection. So if you happen to be an Anthony Hopkins fan, you can have your Anthony Hopkins section where, that's got all the Anthony Hopkins movie and all your NFT memorabilia and your digital collectibles, and all of that stuff is tradable and quite frankly fungible, on the trading market.
I mean, it has a little bit for everyone, doesn't it? It's tech, it's semantics, and at the end of the day, it's additional value, tradable value.
It is.
I mean,
and I don't think it's disruptive to the existing ecosystem within Hollywood. I don't think it. In fact, well, what we've seen is that it's actually accretive. So the selling of the domestic rights, the value of that have increased because of the NFT work that we've done. The potential of the theatrical release has increased because of the NFT work that we've done, the distribution, so this should all be accretive to the whole ecosystem. And really what happened was when streaming came in, it took away from the collecting market, right? So that was highly disruptive. Now it expanded the overall movie viewing market, but it really disrupted things like, collection and things like that. So we just found a way to add that back in for the super fans, which is a large market, and movie fans or in fandom. We've found a way to add that back in, while at the same time that it appears to be what will be accretive to the entire industry again.
What's your favorite movie?
Oh my gosh. Listen, you got me there. It depends on the moment, quite frankly. But for different, you're gonna laugh. I love Pulp Fiction. I just think I think the writing, and I think the storyline, and I think the twists, and I just think it's brilliant. It's genius. It's genius for lots of reasons. And the more I see it, the more I read into it, and the more I look into it, it's absolutely incredible. So, if you ask me on a different day, I'd probably have a different answer. But I also love The Greatest Showman. So in terms of recent movies, but for totally different reasons, more for sentimental reasons and for motivation reasons and for family reasons, as opposed to Pulp Fiction, where it's more for sociological reasons, if you will. So, but that's the great thing about movies, right? Like that's what's. What's your favorite movie? You can't ask that question without expecting to ask it back.
At this moment, it's Fight Club.
Oh wow!
I mean, another one of the classics. I mean, it really shapes your life in a certain way. But again, it also changes with time. Some Marvel movies hold dear places, but they have more moments instead of the whole movie. It's more of a place and time. But now then, let's proceed on to the last question, which is the flip side. The flip side is, what's stopping you from total domination in a sentence or two, and how will you overcome that obstacle?
Well, I think one of the biggest things about business today and the advantage of the decentralized economy, the player-owned or what I'll call the viewer-owned economies here, is that it's really not about cutting up the pie. Decentralization is increasing the overall size of the pie. And it really works counterintuitively to traditional or old business methodology where you're trying to dominate a particular space. Because it's decentralized and because everybody has such incredible access to the content now, if you don't get the network effect of as many people as possible being interested and collaborating and feeling a part of that community, then then that community will turn against you very, very quickly. And so we've seen things like this with Facebook and such, where and I'm not being critical of them at all. I'm just drawing it as an example where they built such a dominant position, where in the past those dominant positions in business, whether it was in industry or rail or something like that, you could hang on to those dominant positions for 100 years or 50 years or 30 years. In today's world, if you're holding a dominant position for a decade, that's incredible. But because by that, but it's really a matter of only being hanging on to those for a year or two before some other new technology or new user experience, because you've got so many minds able to contribute in the decentralized economy, right? The user contributions, that quite frankly, they'll just destroy monopolies. So it's really important, I think, not just from our own, ethos and our own philosophy, but also from a business standpoint, to ensure that you are community-based and have a decentralized position, so that you're not that what's dominating is not you or your team, but what's dominating is the community. And as long as that is maintained, and as long as we can keep that ethos moving forward, we do think that VUELE is potentially in a position to be that largest community, right? Not necessarily the largest owner or the largest, dominant, but it will be hopefully the largest community. And if it does, then it will drive value to the whole industry.
I mean, this has been one of my favorite interviews.
It's gracious.
Can't wait to have you on again. This has been Flip Side Crypto interview. If you have more questions down below, or what we should write on dailycoin.com, feel free to share in your comments down below, and we'll make sure to reach out to the team and VUELE, and maybe they'll grace us with their answers. This is the Flip Side of Crypto. See you in the next one.